What's up, guys? We are here with Adam, a good
Hi.
buddy of mine, for shit,
Fuck you.
16 years probably, going on a pretty long time. And I told him before I ever even started podcasting, before I got a podcast, that he was going to be one of my first guests. And he is actually the first guest of the podcast.
Hey, yo.
Um, Adam is kind of inspiring in the fact that this guy has pretty much done what he's passionate about for a long fucking time. And he moved all the way to Chicago to do that. Worked at, what was it?
Next in Chicago,
Yeah, which is
one of Grant Atkins's restaurants. He owns Alinea. He's had 3 Michelin-starred restaurants for so long. I worked there for 2 years. Got a lot of experience, a lot of stories about it. And yeah, it has taught me a lot of work ethic. That is one big thing with restaurants is work ethic is huge. Yeah, it's taught me a lot.
he said he's got stories. I can't remember if it was the Chicago one, but he told me some pretty crazy stuff that took place in the restaurant. And after working, I work at just like Buffalo Wild Wings, which is the lowest low class that you could get out of a kitchen. But there's crazy shit that goes on in these places. So like the stories he would tell me, 1000% believe that that shit was happening. Like it was going down like that. So why? Okay, so he lived in Missouri, born and raised here, right?
Yep.
Um, you started cooking. You went to culinary school for a little
Yeah,
while.
I took a year off of school. I went from high school, didn't go to any schooling a year after that, and then decided to go to culinary school over that summer.
Okay, so let's talk about that. What made you want to start cooking?
Honestly, there was over that summer that I was off, I literally just was like, "Hey, mom, could I fire up the grill, like make something?" And then before that, I never really had like any sort of inspiration with cooking. Um, Grandma didn't know her, like she passed away before I was born. Most people have those kinds of stories where it's like, I remember being in the kitchen with my grandma cooking cookie or making cookies and shit like that. Never really had that. My mom, she was single. She was a single mom for the most part. So a lot of it was TV dinners, things like that. So there was no real inspiration out of that. It was mainly my uncle. He brought over some like barbecue ribs one day, and I was like, "Damn, that looks pretty good." And then I was like, "Let's see, let's give our little hand at it." So then I did, and I was like, "You know what? This might be what I go to school for." And so I went to school for it only like a year, and then went and started working in restaurants after that. So
So that's crazy to me. I'll say, like you said, there was no like, dude, it's like I said, you stuck to this shit for like how long now? How
10
long?
years.
10 years. Just from picking up a grill one day, it's almost like destiny. I hate to say like destiny, but how else the fuck do you explain it? Because like you said, you had no background of cooking, and like one day something was just like, hey, I want to touch a grill, and then from then on, you just want to be a chef, and you stick to it. Like even there's been times where this guy would message me and be like, dude, I fucking hate my job. I don't make enough money. I'm working all the fucking time, and I would constantly be like trying to get him to go do something else that makes more money, that pays better, but it wasn't in what he wanted to do, and he would still he just stuck through it. Like it sometimes it was like, dude, this fucking guy will not listen, but like he knew what he wanted to do. Like deep down, he knew what he wanted to do, what he needed to do. And so, how many places did you work for before you moved to Chicago?
Let's see. I think my first job was Llewellyn's Pub, I think,
I kind of remember
something
that
like
one.
that. And then uh one crazy thing, this is kind of off subject. One crazy thing about that is with restaurants, like I would literally get off at like midnight, 1 o'clock. In a relationship, that doesn't work. I literally had the girlfriend at the time accusing me of cheating or anything like that whenever I was literally at work.
Right.
So it's like a lot of people don't know how to deal with that kind of stuff. But anyway, so worked at Llewellyn's, and
I remember that one for sure.
after that I went to I can't remember the name of it. It was some sort of pub in like Cottleville. It wasn't anything. And then I went and I worked at Old Hickory Golf Club in St. Peter's, and that's where I probably got the most experience before going to Chicago. So basically what happened was the chef that was working there at the time was like, he knew I was big into molecular gastronomy and things like that. So
Hold on. He's using big words here and assuming that we all know what what that means. Okay, so what is that? What is molecular gastronomy?
So molecular gastronomy is using things like soy lecithin, things like that to make foams. So it's like a foam, or how can I make these little caviar balls by using agar, or a sodium lactate and or no calcium lactate and sodium alginate bath. It's basically all the science behind food. So those two things right there react to each other, and it will cause like a shell around whatever liquid you put it in. So then once you pull it out at a certain time, you'll have a shell around it, but the middle will still be liquid. So that's something that would be molecular gastronomy.
Okay, so kind of like I don't even want to say it because this sounds stupid now that I thought about it, but it reminds me of those stupid ass the boba teas, the little balls inside the boba teas.
Yeah, so that's probably some sort of like agar kind of thing. It's got something to solidify it.
Okay, so that's another thing I want to state. Okay, he said he had what, 4 or 5 jobs. Okay, he bounced around to. This is what I preach all the time. If you don't like where you work, or like you don't feel like you're learning enough or what you want to learn, or you're getting where you want to be, dude, leave.
Yeah.
Like, and he did that. Imagine if you just stuck it out at some shit restaurant, you'd probably still be there. I don't know, who even knows?
Yeah, and like, I mean, whenever I worked at the golf club, it wasn't necessarily what I was looking forward to. Like that, I didn't want to stay at a golf club. Like that's not what it was. And so there was a moment where at golf clubs you would have wine tastings. And so a lot of the times on those wine tastings, we got to play around with food a little bit more. And so I expressed my interest of Alinea to the chef. And so he basically, what he did was he was like, okay, well, we're having a wine tasting. Let's see what you can do. And I was like, okay. So I tried making a BLT out of, it's going to sound really weird because most people aren't going to fucking eat this. But it was tomato caviar with a bacon snow, and there was iceberg ice. All of this was within the Alinea book.
Okay. You have Instagram, right?
Yeah.
Did you post this shit on your Instagram back in the day? Okay, damn. I remember when you did work there, or maybe it was when you went to Chicago, but you would post shit all the time. Mm. Which I will leave in the comments, a link to his Facebook and his Instagram if you guys want to check out some of the shit he's done in the past. But all right, let's get back to the BLT.
So basically, we wanted to make an amuse-bouche, which is a one.
The names
Oh, I know.
Cracking me up.
It's French for you. But basically, what you would do is it's a one bite. So you would take a spoon of all of the bacon snow, or the bacon snow, iceberg ice, and the tomato caviar. And the idea of it was to see that it's completely different than what the BLT actually looks like. And so you would eat it, and the first thing that you would think of is a BLT. So that was like the whole idea of molecular gastronomy, is to kind of change what you can do with certain flavors. And so it turned out horribly. It didn't work. The iceberg ice just melted, and then like the bacon snow was fine, and then the tomato caviar, it was agar and it was gross. But it didn't really work. And so the chef at that time knew that I enjoyed doing that kind of stuff. And so at one point, he came up to me and he was like, hey, I saw that Alinea is hiring on Facebook. Why don't you go up there and stage for them? And I was like, okay, that sounds great. At first I was, well, no, I take that back. At first I was very like hesitant because I was like, how am I going to get up to Chicago? How am I going to do all this? Like, how's this going to work? And so because I was looking at the book and that's where I got all my inspiration from, but, and this chef knew it. He just reached out and did that. So I go up there and
Hold on. So you had okay, I do remember this. You had a book that's where you were pulling all
the
of
actual
this.
book is literally right there.
Okay.
That's the book that I had.
So you were pulling all this stuff from that book, and that's how the chef knew that you were. So you just like found this book, and you're like, okay, that looks cool as shit, and you just started like doing it in your own time, like reading about it, and you weren't actually doing it at your regular job.
No.
So again, this comes back to this fucking guy. It's literally like a passion.
Yeah.
He's just going out of his way to learn about shit that is not even related to what he does. Okay, so he knows that Alinea, is this the name of the company, the restaurant?
The restaurant.
Okay, in Chicago. Okay, so you're trying to figure out how to get there.
Yeah, so I basically was like, how am I going to do this? Well, then I hit up my friend Rick. I met this guy online on one of the Halo games that we played all the time. Good friend of mine. I asked him, I was like, hey, can I stay with you for a couple of days? I'm going to stage at this restaurant and see what it's about.
What does stage mean?
So a stage is basically a working interview.
Okay.
So you don't get paid for it.
Hell yeah. Best kind of work, baby.
I was going to say, if one thing could represent restaurants, that's it.
Fact.
You don't get paid for it.
Fact. And you'll love it. You do not get paid for it and you will love it.
Yeah.
You're learning here, okay?
Fucking your experience here is your pay.
Yes.
So anyway, I go in there and this was leaps from what I was doing before. Like, this is people paying $300 for a tasting menu whenever.
What does that mean?
So a tasting menu is like it's coursed out. So basically you get small bites, but it is a lot of them. So the reason why they do that is because it allows you to try a bunch of different foods on a longer period of time, but then you get to, you don't get full right away. And so the idea of it is to be full at the end of it. And so, but you got to try like 10 different things instead of just eating a burger.
So it also sounds like a good idea. Like if you've never been to a restaurant before, you don't know what to order, you don't know what to eat. So you would do this tasting menu to kind of get like a taste of everything. Maybe the next time you come back, then you'll know what to order. Or is people just literally doing it just because they want to eat that type of way?
It's kind of hard because like I've been to tasting menus that haven't filled me up, and that is very disappointing. That is one of the worst things. Like, it's like ordering something on the menu and not liking it. Like it makes you pretty mad.
Yeah.
But I think that like it is for the adventurous people, the people that are not going to be just basic meat and potatoes kind of thing. Mm-hmm. If they want to be adventurous, that allows the chef to actually play with the food and show them what they can do.
Nice. I don't know what I was going to go with that. I was thinking of something, but I forgot. All right, keep going with the tasting menu.
So I show up to this restaurant, and I am so new to this. Like, I have never worked in a tasting menu. I've never done any of this. And I have never worked at that type of caliber of
Yeah, I
restaurant.
was going to say, is this like a 5-star restaurant?
This is it. Like,
This is one of the Michelin star type of food? Okay.
so it wasn't Alinea, it was Next. Alinea has the 3 Michelin stars. Next at the time did not have one. And that was,
And what's a Michelin star for the people that don't know?
so a Michelin star is basically, It's actually funny how it started. The Michelin tire brand is actually how it started.
Yeah.
So basically, it was a bunch of people going around and rating restaurants in that sense. And there is some sort of connection. I can't remember the exact story behind Michelin, and that there was some sort of rating that they would give out for restaurants. Eventually that caught on, and now there is a Michelin guide. And so people within the Michelin guide will go around the country and rate restaurants in certain areas depending on where you're at. I don't think we get them here in St. Louis. I've never seen them here, but like Chicago, LA, New York, all these other cities will have these types of restaurants. So 3 Michelin stars means you are top notch. You are at the very top of the game.
So 3 is as high as it goes?
Yeah.
Okay.
2 is almost there, pretty much, and then 1 is your start. Like next, the only reason why they didn't have any Michelin stars whenever I worked there was because they didn't meet the criteria. And that's basically, people are supposed to know once they go to these restaurants that they're going to get a good product. And honestly, I think that was bullshit, because Next was always good. They always had an expectation to be met. That is where work ethic came in for me. Where I learned the most was because I was held to such a high standard, and anything less than that, I was getting yelled at. Mm-hmm. So,
all right, let's jump back to Alinea real quick. Okay, so you go to Alinea.
Well, that was Next.
Oh, Next is Alinea?
Next is the restaurant. Alinea is the is his big restaurant.
Okay, so it's like a
It's a restaurant
or something.
group.
Okay.
So he's got it's called the Alinea Group. But in the Alinea Group, he has Next, Royster, the Aviary,
Okay.
and Alinea.
So Alinea is like, basically, if you're going to put it in business terms, they're like the corporation, and then Next and these other ones are like subcorps underneath that. Okay.
But they're all underneath the same chef.
Right.
So he's got his whole thing. So so I go back to me staging. I went in there, and I remember this one moment where I was like, I don't even know if I want to do this. Like, this is scared the shit out of me. So I went from a nice little restaurant or a nice little golf course to an extreme restaurant. And so it's like, your knife cuts have to be perfect. They have to be these little small dice. They have to be this. They have to be that. Like, there's so much to it. And I get there and I do not know anything. I got like some of the shittiest knives in the world. Like, I'm going in and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be hard.
So you had to bring your own knives?
Yeah.
Because I feel like I remember, like, when you bought your first set and you were like so proud, like so happy, or maybe it was when you got back, you had like I can't remember, but I know you had knives that you had bought. So, dude, this is like it's such a scam, kind of, working in the restaurant.
Yeah.
It's almost like working as a carpenter or something like that. You have to bring your own tools to the job.
Yep.
Like,
And
okay, so every chef that was there had to have, like, they had their own knife set.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Like, there was no real house knives. Like, that is a thing in some restaurants. Not in there.
That's crazy.
You bring your own stuff.
That's crazy.
Don't let anyone touch your stuff.
Okay.
That's another one.
Okay.
Like, who the fuck touched my knife? Like,
Yeah. Okay.
it's not good.
That's hilarious.
So my first night there, I was over there prepping, just doing the little small stuff. Like, they don't allow stages to do big stuff that's going to necessarily ruin the night for somebody. So I was over there, the littlest, tiniest crown tips of thyme. Like, it's the smallest part of thyme. Once you look at the end of it, it's got like 3 or 4 little leaves off of it. That's called a crown tip. I had to pick 1,000 of those.
Oh, wow.
And so,
Oh my God. They gave you like the grunt.
dude, it was the grunt work. There was nothing going on. It's just me sitting there for like 45 minutes to an hour just picking these things. It was hell.
But I feel like that's like a test. Like, they're testing you. Like, the very first thing is like, okay, can this guy do some, like, we're going to put him through the fucking ringer to see if he even can stay through this part, because this is probably going to be the easiest part of all this shit.
Dude.
So,
whenever later on, whenever I finally got, or whenever I took the job, that literally happened. We had a stage come in, and I was like, "Pick me 1,000 time tips."
This fucking guy.
And so
This fucking guy said, you know what? This happened to me. Now I'm going to do it to somebody else.
yeah, I turned into that guy.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, so basically I did that, and I went up to the stage an hour later, and I was like, "So how many you got?" And he's like, "I wasn't counting." And I'm like, "I need exactly 1,000, just so you know. Like, I need 1,000 for this night, because in those restaurants, every single one of those is counted for. So there is 6 time tips on each plate. You have to have 6 time tips on each plate. So, yeah, this guy just did not count it at all. And I was like, all right, well, there's all the stuff that you had. You have to go back and count that. And he's like, I'm not doing that. And he just took his apron off and walked out.
Damn. Well,
And I was like, well, looks like I'm doing that.
Yeah.
Like, so, and I knocked that out. But
so how long were you there when that happened?
probably about roughly a year
Oh, okay.
at that point.
So a pretty good amount of time.
Yeah.
You'd learned like kind of a lot.
Yeah. And so, like, I mean, that was a fun part, though. Whenever you got the stages in, you're like, yeah, I don't have to do that today. I'm going to dump it on this guy, because you never knew when they were going to come in. It would just be like a random show of this guy. And I'm like, oh, sweet. We got a stage. Here you go.
A little bit of hazing. Okay, so you watched Bear on Hulu.
Yeah.
I watched a little bit of it. How close to the beginning intro when he's like in that fine dining environment and he's like getting fucking screamed at by the chef, and that, like, how accurate is that?
That is pretty accurate. It is. Like, it's not Hell's Kitchen. It's not like that. It's not Gordon Ramsay yelling at you like that. But it is very high intense. I literally had somebody tell me that if it was their restaurant, they wouldn't have hired me. And I was like, God damn, like, that's rude. But yeah, so there was that. There was like so many different things like that. Like, I've seen ice sculptures thrown. That was a good one. And the chef just got pissed and came down because somebody turned the ice sculpture thing inside out and the fish didn't have scales.
Oh my god.
And so in those restaurants, that is what matters.
That is hilarious.
So, like, it came out on this, like, it came out like it was like a fish jumping out of water, but on the bottom of it, it was cut. And so that's where what your bite would be. So, like, the top was supposed to sit on there and it was going to be presented that way. And the fish scales just didn't exist. So it was a bare fish. There was no definition on it. So
how long does it take to make something like that?
So the way that we did it was it's not a hand sculpted one. It was like a rubber piece that went around it.
Okay.
And so what we did was we took crushed ice and we filled it with crushed ice, and then we added water to it and we let it freeze overnight. Okay. And that was another problem. They couldn't let that freeze overnight again because they needed it for service that day.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I mean, to be fair, if I was the chef, I would probably also be like, no one noticed, like, when you're putting the fish on and there's no...
The rubber thing was inside out.
Yeah.
So,
dude, yeah.
So they were heated at that point.
Complete incompetence.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with the chef on that one.
But so to get back to my stage, which kind of falls into that, as I was working, that restaurant shared a prep kitchen with one of the other restaurants of his. And so the other restaurant of his was a cocktail restaurant. So, like, our cocktail bar. So basically they focused more on cocktails and being all, like, nice and fancy about that. And so, but they did have a food menu, and there was one guy down there that would work on the food menu for their whole night because it wasn't that big. People didn't go there for the food necessarily. And there was a kitchen upstairs that if they did, they would have like chicharrones and stuff like that. So a lot of it was bar food. Well, they had foie gras on there, and foie gras is
duck.
It is duck liver. It's delicious, but it can be fucked up pretty easily. and this guy fucked it up. And
Massage.
it was one of the workers for them. And so this chef, I have never seen someone get yelled at so badly. This is my first day on the job, and I'm just like, holy shit, like, do I want to work with this?
So is this like Gordon Ramsay type shit right here?
Yeah, he literally, he told him he was the biggest piece of shit in the world. And he was just like, I can't fucking believe you even work here still. And like, was just going off on this, laying into him every chance he had. Like that guy would go back upstairs to work in the other kitchen and come back down and yell at him again, like for the same shit. Like he would not let go of this guy. And so like, that was my first night there, and I was like, holy shit, like this is high intensity.
So wait, you're like, okay, your first night as the stage or like
Yeah.
an actual employee?
As
Okay,
the
as a stage. Okay.
So I'm seeing this and I'm like, holy shit, do I want to do this? And literally the next day, that guy doesn't show up. And so I'm like, damn, like he just straight walked out. He did not show up again.
So he was done.
He was done.
And that was an employee.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was an employee for them.
Opening for you.
Yeah, that was my opening night. And then the next day on that 2-day stage was him just not being there. And I'm like, that sounds pretty good right now. Not gonna lie. Like, so then I, after that,
Hey, back to Destiny.
dude,
Back to fucking Destiny. This guy shows up. This guy met a guy playing. Dude, let's break this down for a second. This guy met someone playing fucking Halo who just had. How far away did he live from the restaurant?
45 minutes.
That's not bad. I mean, that's not bad. That's a decent drive.
And his family was willing to let me live with them.
Yeah, that's crazy. Okay, Destiny. Then he shows up, stage, first night. Guy fucks up real bad. Is fog wall expensive?
Dude, hell yeah. it's
So that's
expensive.
probably why he was so pissed.
Oh yeah.
Guy
He
fucks
fucked up a lot.
gets screamed at, quits. Opportunity for you. It's literally like the stars fucking align for this guy.
Well, like that portion, I didn't like. The jobs were already there. That wasn't my job that I was going to be taking. That was a guy on the other restaurant,
okay.
not the one that I worked for. But either way, like I went through with it, and I was like so nervous doing that. I literally went back after the stage, and I went to the chef that found the job and everything for me, and I was like, I don't know if I want to do that, chef. Like, I like it back here. And then he's like, yeah, but he's like, you're not going to like necessarily go anywhere doing this. And so I was like, yeah, that is true. And I did get the job. And so I was like, okay, can I put up with that? And then I was like, you know what? Fuck it. We're going. And so like, I asked my friend Rick, I was like, hey, can I live with you guys for a bit? Like, and they were very like caring and everything like that. Like I literally slept on their couch. Like I did have my own room a little bit, but a lot of the times I'd be coming home late and their bedrooms were upstairs and I didn't want to wake them up, so I'd sleep on the couch.
Dude, literally grinding. You're like the definition of grinding.
Dude.
And I mean, the importance, and I tell those people this because like when I worked at Schnucks, I had a manager too who like kind of saw potential in me. And instead of like holding me down, like she worked really hard to like elevate me. Like I got to places where people that had been there for years never got to. And think about like if you didn't have that chef that was like pushing you to go do your own thing. Like he saw something in you and was like, hey, you need to go pursue this. And even when you went and came back and were like, I don't know, he was like, no, I know. Like you need to go do this.
Yeah. And he was honestly one of my favorite chefs. And like what's funny is like I actually went and worked at that golf club because he was my teacher in culinary school.
Oh shit. Okay.
So
okay, so
and
is
then I
that
was
how
like,
you
hey.
got that job?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I knew him already.
What did we talk about when I first got here?
Networking.
Networking. It's not about what you know. It is about who you know.
Yeah.
Like you can be the hardest worker in the world. If you don't know the right people, you're never getting anywhere.
Yeah. And honestly, that chef at the time was one of my idols. Like I would sit there and I would ask him, like, even if I messed up on something, I'd be like, chef, like, how long have you been doing this? Like, and he's like, he told me, he's like, don't measure yourself on how much time I've been doing this for. And I was like, what do you like? What? Like, how does that make sense? And he's just like, just because my experience is longer than yours doesn't mean that you can't be as good as me in a short amount of time.
That's the whole point of a teacher. I always tell people this. The student should surpass the teacher.
Yeah.
Like if your teacher is good and you're a good student, you should catch up to your teacher because he should be teaching you everything that he knows. And if you're a good student, you implement, especially when it comes to like culinary shit, you have your own brain and like how you want to, your own vision basically. So you get to like run wild with like all this information that he's giving you and you can implement it in your own way and create your own shit. And I think like, I don't cook, but to me, that's why I respect the art so much because it's literally a fucking art. Like, and you have so much control over like how you express yourself.
Yep. And like one thing that I will say that experience brings with restaurants is one of my chefs that I worked for up in Chicago, not the same guy. It was a place called Belmore. And one of the things, he was a great teacher. He would show me every single little aspect of it. He showed me how to break down a halibut and things like that, and how like whenever you're doing that, you want to be able to hear your knife hitting the rib cage on the fish, knowing that you got all of the meat off of the fish. So you want to hear a clicking noise as you're doing it. And I never knew that before. And so I was like, that's a good idea. Like now you know that you're getting all of the fillet and you're not wasting any of it. And so he was a great teacher at doing that. But he was honestly a really good inspiration as well, because like he would pull the whole team in front of us and just be like, if you guys want to watch me break down the lobster in the fastest way, here you go. And so like he would just do it all in front of us. And then one of the things he had was a whiteboard, and he would always put like a quote or something like that on it to build confidence within people. And he's like, one of the things is that whenever you're going along with experience, you build a flavor bank is what he would call it. So it's basically whenever you eat something, you know, hey, this tastes pretty good. Now, can this taste pretty good with this other thing? Because I think the other thing tastes pretty good too. And so you put them together and you slowly build upon that the more experience you get. So it's like, now I know, like one of my favorite things is black garlic and dark chocolate. Black garlic is like
combined.
Yeah.
That sounds not great.
No, it sounds terrible for people. Yeah. But once they actually eat black garlic, they're like, what is this? And what it is basically fermented garlic that turns black, but it becomes all the sugars and stuff that you get in garlic come out. So it's like more sweeter, but kind of has a little hint of garlic to it. And then with that and dark chocolate, because you have the sweetness and then you have the earthiness of dark chocolate, and it goes well together to me.
That's also like one of the things I like about cooking is like, especially the older I've gotten, like we just made that Mr. Beast video. Okay. We tasted like a Hershey's bar and a Mr. Beast bar, and the kids rated the Mr. Beast bar a 3 out of 10. Okay. And me and Cora eat it. They give the Hershey's a 10 out of 10. Just let everybody know. Me and Cora ate it, and I'm like, okay, you cannot ask a child to like taste test something because like they don't have the food bank that you have. So like I tasted the Mr. Beast bar and I'm like, dude, the texture is different. The way that like you eat a Hershey's, the first half of it has a certain flavor, but then like on the back half, another flavor like kind of comes in. Okay. But like the Mr. Beast bar, the profile remained the same from start to finish. The texture was better than the Hershey's bar. Like you could tell it was high quality chocolate. Yeah. Like you could tell. And so I'm like, you cannot let kids like taste shit because they just don't understand.
I would say kids are some of the hardest to cook for.
Oh, dude, they're picky.
Because like, I mean, yeah, you can like a texture thing for them is huge. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, there's just some nasty shit out there that they don't want to eat. Yeah. Like, and it's just the off-putting texture. For me, I'm just like, well, if you want, like, I would think that if you want kids to eat something, you have to kind of sneak it in there. Yeah. Like, make sure they can't taste it, but you can get it in there. Right. So it's like, oh, make a chili, but then add like fresh tomatoes to it, but blend it up because they don't know that the tomatoes are in there. Right. So.
Yeah, you kind of got to trick them.
Yeah, you kind of have to trick them in that sense.
Yeah. I mean, I think, and I said this too, I was like, honestly, I feel like they rate the Hershey's on a higher scale because of what we feed them. Like I don't feed my kids that much processed trash, but like I feed them too much. So their palate has become accustomed to the chemicals and the bullshit that's just in all the food.
Yeah.
And like you said, fresh tomatoes. Like fresh tomatoes taste way different than if you buy a can of tomato. Like it's not even comparable. And I always tell people, if you want to test this theory out, okay, you like ketchup, go to the store, get organic ketchup, and you switch to that for like 2 weeks. Okay. And then you go back to the store, buy your regular old high fructose corn syrup ketchup, and you'll be like, what the fuck have I been eating for the last how many ever years?
It's too sweet.
Yeah. It tastes weird. It tastes weird. It tastes artificial. I don't know. It tastes weird. But yeah. So like you're saying, the kids, like, at least I feel like, I don't know, maybe if you raise your kids off of like natural whole foods only, I feel like they would appreciate like fine culinary food.
Yeah.
It
I
would
think
taste better to them.
I think one of the problems that people have is like growing up with a parent that does not necessarily know how to cook well, because then like all you're given is processed things. And it's like, I mean, yeah, I grew up, my mom didn't cook very much at all, but I also wanted to learn how to cook. So it was a little bit different. But I think that kids don't necessarily know, like, I mean, green beans, for example. Canned green beans, trash. Absolute trash. Fresh green beans, amazing.
And
they are amazing.
They taste totally different.
They have a texture. They're not soft. They have a snap to them.
Yep.
They are delicious. And so it's like, if you feed a kid canned green beans and they grow up eating canned green beans all the time, they're either A, going to look at a green bean and be like, I don't like it, because that's what I ate whenever I was a kid and I fucking hated it. Or they're going to give fresh green beans another try, and then they'll probably like it. So
yeah.
I think that a lot of things like that is important, where if you keep feeding kids processed things like that, they have a warped mind on what actual good food is.
Well, I mean, we can get into your micro gut biome.
Yeah.
You feed it processed shit, it literally is like connected to your neural pathways, and it like wires your brain to want that food and crave that food. So like you're saying, you introduce natural green beans and they're like, no, this tastes like shit, but like really it's their brain like tricking them into not liking it, even though again it tastes better. But I'm guilty of that. We feed, at least in my defense, when I give the kids canned green beans, it's always like no salt added, like no sodium. So it's like as close as you can get to a fresh green bean inside of a can. Like,
do you do anything with the green beans, or do you just do?
No, I just pop it open, drop it in, and cook it. Desmond eats them just like that. He doesn't put salt on them. He doesn't do anything. He just eats them.
Wild dude.
Yeah. He loves salt, dude. He loves salt. That pink Himalayan salt, dude. He's a fiend for that shit. Like if I make him eggs, he'll be like, I'll grab some out, pinch it, like roll the eggs around, add some more, and then he'll be like, I need more salt. I'm like, dude, no, you do not, bro. Like, no, you do
Give
not.
him the sodium.
Yeah, yeah.
He wants
Maybe
all
he
the
has a
flavor.
deficiency or some shit. I don't know. He loves sodium, dude. He loves salt, but his mom does too. She ate pretzels while she was pregnant with him. Maybe that has something to do with a lot of salt. Okay, let's jump back to, we got way off topic. Okay, so you're staying with Rick.
Yep.
You're living pretty much on his couch in a spare bedroom. It's crazy. You met this guy on the computer.
Yep.
Which is, dude, it's awesome. I mean, some of the best people I knew when we played World of Warcraft. They lived in Tennessee, and we talked to them all the time.
Yep.
Not anymore though. So you go out there now. You do the stage. You get hired. Okay. So what do they offer you? Because I remember this too. Remember back when I said he would be like, oh, I'm not making enough money. What did they pay you starting when you worked there?
A whopping $15 an hour.
I mean, okay, but to be fair, how long ago was...
Actually, no.
I thought you were making like $12.50 or some shit.
It was because in Chicago they upped the minimum wage to $50.
Okay, what year was this?
Whenever I went there, whenever I first started there, it was 2017.
Okay, so
2016 or 17.
Fuck, that's a long time ago.
I know. I don't want to think about it.
So he's telling me they pay $12.50 an hour, and then we're talking about a $300 tasting menu. I remember him telling me about these fucking truffles that they would get,
Yep.
and like how expensive they were by the ounce or whatever. And I'm thinking like, dude, they're paying you $12.50 an hour, and they're upcharging this shit like so much.
That's how they do it.
Like he literally said, in the restaurant industry, it's a fucked up, like, cutthroat world, but they literally look at it like, you're working for us, you're getting experience, like that's part of your pay. That's literally how they feel.
Yep. The one thing that I would always tell people is, you, in those types of places, they know you have a passion for what you're doing or you wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
And so they can literally treat you so badly.
They take advantage of you.
But they know you'll come back.
Yeah.
Because they, for one, it's what is that syndrome? Stockholm syndrome?
Yeah.
Literally. That's what I thought of whenever I left that place. Because they would literally sit there and tell you, no other place in this city is as good as we are.
Dude,
so
that sounds like an abusive relationship.
There was literally a restaurant in Chicago called Blackbird, and they would literally make fun of all the people that left Next to go to Blackbird, and they literally called them just Next 2.0 because so many people would go from Next to there, and they would just do shit like that. They would trash all the other restaurants and make you think that no one is better than them.
I was gonna say, how was Blackbird? Was it like shitty or like was?
It wasn't shitty, but it wasn't up to Next. Like,
yeah.
It wasn't great. Like, it wasn't. I wouldn't say it wasn't great, but it wasn't like
It just wasn't over the top.
It wasn't at the same level as Next or Linear.
So the people that come in Next and shit, are they like, like CEOs and fucking famous people and
we did have a
Suit and
couple
tie.
famous people.
suit and tie type of place?
It was definitely suit and tie. The concept around Next was the menu changed every 6 months. So, and it would be a whole different theme. So there was one where we did ancient Rome. We did ancient Roman food.
I mean,
Pretty
that's
cool.
kind of sick.
It was pretty sick.
kinda
So
sick.
like our dining room changed, our menu changed, everything changed.
Okay, hold up. This is clicking here. Is that why they called it Next?
Yes,
Dude, holy shit.
because it always changed.
Okay, I mean,
It was a chameleon.
I gotta give the props to
was
these
cool.
fucking guys. That's pretty cool.
It was awesome. And like that's one of the reasons why I wanted to work there too, was because you got to see so many different things. Like you got to see, we made garum, which is like a fermented meat liquid, which most people are probably like, that's fucking gross.
That
But
sounds gross.
it's kind of like fish sauce.
That sounds gross. Does it taste good?
Yeah, it's delicious. It's very earthy,
Okay.
but it's basically a fermented like fish sauce is fermented fish.
Gross.
I know, but I mean, once you add a little bit of that to something, it's just like a flavor bomb at that point. That's kind of what garum is, but it's more meat based than fish. And so in ancient Roman times, they used that a lot as a condiment. And so we had that. We made our own and everything like that. Would sit in a dehydrator at a certain temperature for so long, and it smelled terrible. But so I got to experience things like that and see that. One of the things was whenever you went into the dining room, if it was ancient Rome, it had a bunch of the red drapes and everything like that, golden stuff, like it all changed. And so a lot of the times the front of the house people would have to change all of that stuff. And so there was just, it was really cool to see how...
Did the staff have to dress differently depending on the theme?
No.
Damn, that would have been kind of cool.
But they did have outfits they had to wear. It was very, very formal. If you dropped something, you got sent home.
Oh shit! Like if you had a plate of something, you dropped it.
No,
Okay.
yeah, you going home.
Yeah. I mean, I get it.
So, but there was also times where people would drop silverware, and
They sent you home for that?
they wouldn't. They wouldn't necessarily send you home for it, but they would be mad about it.
Damn.
There was one time I dropped a dehydrator door. They sent my ass home real quick. They were not happy about that because the chef did not like any sort of noise within the kitchen.
Okay.
And so he didn't want a disturbance on any of the guests. And so, Well, the fucking dehydrator door has a stupid latch on it. Like, it's literally this plastic piece that goes over, but it doesn't like latch. You knock into it and it just falls off, and that's what happened. And I was like in the middle of service, and I knocked into this fucking thing. You just hear it hit the ground, and the chef looks at me. He's like, "Go home." I was like, damn it. But then the best parts is whenever you go home at the end of the night. You're like, damn, you sending me home? I don't have to clean up.
Right.
I don't have to clean up? Hell yeah, I'm going. Like, I am out of there.
Yeah.
I am so gone at that point. So, at that point, it wasn't punishment. Early in the night, though, it became punishment.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like you said, it's like they know everyone there. They're passionate about their work. Like they're there to learn.
Yeah.
Like really, yeah, you're making some money, but like you're literally there to learn. So punishment of like sending you home is like, yeah, fuck, I just missed out on 4 hours of learning how to cook new shit or whatever. So that works. I mean, at our job, if we send people home, I feel like they're like, fuck, like you said, I don't got to close tonight. Fuck.
Well,
see ya.
At your job, though, the difference is if you send them home enough, their paycheck's going to pay for it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So that's where the leeway comes in.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so I've been sent home for things like that. That was always a good time. One of the things that we had for that menu was a lot of the times the plating was a lot different too. So like it wouldn't be your normal plates. Not like, I mean, most of the time you would have your like fancy plates and stuff like that. But sometimes we would plate things on pieces, like things of hay.
What?
Yeah. So we'd have these like little tiny bites that would be set on top of a thing of hay because like it was ancient Rome. So it was like, this is something that would have been within that realm. And so.
Does that change the flavor of the food?
No, it's just a plating thing. So the waiter would come out and just set that in front of you, and that would be it. Like it was just to look nice.
I only say that because like I learned about beer, and like literally, if like your lines aren't cleaned out, or like if you don't clean the glasses like correctly, there could be like grease residue or anything inside the glass. It will literally change the flavor profile of the beer. So I wasn't sure if like setting it on top of hay would change the flavor of the food.
No, not really. I mean, you could light it on fire and it would smoke, and then you could get some hay flavor up in there.
Yeah.
But one of the funny stories that I have at this restaurant was literally watching a server come back with that shit on fire.
The
hay lit on fire.
Oh shit.
And so it's because they were going to place it down and there was a candle in the middle of the table. That shit just went up in flames. And so you just see them running through the dining room with this freaking thing on fire, going directly to the dish station and trying to put that out.
That is hilarious. Did they get sent home?
Yeah, they got hell yeah. If that's not a disturbance in the kitchen, I don't know what is.
Oh dude, that's kind of cool though.
Like, did you see that waitress just walk by with that flaming ball just come through?
That's kind of. So how long did you work at Alinea or at Next?
2 years.
2 years. Okay, so you seen the Roman theme. What other themes did you see?
I saw there was one. We did Hollywood.
Okay.
Hollywood was kind of cool. There was a bunch of dishes based off of movies.
Okay.
We did Cool Hand Luke. There was a bunch of like, and a lot of the times it would be like, most of the movies would have like at one point in them they would have a predominant like food source. So it'd be like in Cool Hand Luke, there was I think it was like a bet or something on how many hard-boiled eggs he could eat. And so we didn't do anything with a hard-boiled egg, but we did make a dish that looked like a hard-boiled egg.
Okay.
So it was completely different. It was filled with like basil and all this other like coconut and stuff like that. It was a good dish, but it was a hard-boiled egg that came out, and people didn't know what was in it. So then once you got to it, they'd break it open, and there's the rest of your dish. So there's that. We did, what other menu did we do? Classical French was one of them. So it was a bunch of like old French techniques that they had.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah,
That's
it's
also
one that you don't see.
Man, dude, like you're saying, the experience that you got from that.
Yeah.
Because like most places, they just do the same shit, and you're getting introduced to like Dude, so many different styles.
Yep.
Especially when I think of like classical French, I think of like, you know, making bread like the old fashioned way
Yeah.
and like pasta and all that shit.
Yeah, it's wild. Like, and since it changed every 6 months, I got to see so many different things. So 6 months out of a year. So what?
Once a year.
Yeah. So it was good. Or actually, no, it was 4 months. Every 4 months, not 6
Okay,
months.
that's even better.
It was 3 menus per year.
Okay.
So
We got Rome, Hollywood, classical French.
and then there was the 50 best, which was 50 best chefs in the world. I didn't really like this menu because I felt like it was not very creative. Usually all the other menus were, but this one was literally taking the 50 best restaurants in the world and taking a dish from that. And I was like, this is stupid. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think it's fair that you get to
Right.
literally take from all the other restaurants and then make a menu out of it
Mhm.
and then serve it.
Yeah. Just
I don't-
back on some shit.
Yeah, just okay, they already did it, so we're just gonna take all this and put it in a menu.
Yeah.
Kind of stupid.
That seems like an easy one.
Yeah. And then there was another French one that we did. Trying to think of what that last one was that I was at. I can't remember. But it was definitely definitely an experience, definitely fun to do. Eye opening to the rest of the world, or the rest of the restaurant world.
So why'd you quit?
That restaurant, or
Yeah.
that restaurant, because
Hold on. Is this the one with the manager that was like doing like weird sexual shit or something like that?
oh no, that's the one back here.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, that's a fun one. That's a good time.
Yeah.
No, I quit there because I didn't feel like, I felt like all these other employees were moving up and I wasn't. And I was pissed off because I felt like I deserved to be moved up, but they weren't giving me that opportunity. And so so then I decided, I was like, you know what, I'm going to quit at this point. Like, I was talking about it for a bit and then I was like, you know what, I am going to do it. And so I did. And literally, as I did, like 2 other people quit at the same time. And well, theirs was like a day or 2 later than mine. And so then the chef comes up to me, he's like, hey, he's like, are you sure you want to quit? Other people are quitting and you can have that position. And I was like, fuck no. You weren't going to offer it to me to begin with. And now that they are quitting, then you're giving it to me? No. So I quit.
What was the position?
It was just to be working the line, like working upstairs with everyone else. Like, I was pissed because, so I basically had something happen where I went upstairs, I didn't do very good, and so they sent me back down to prep, and that's fine. Like, I told them, I was like, I don't feel comfortable with that because that's a lot of high pressure up there, is whenever you're plating and you have to make sure everything is going proper. And so that was a lot of pressure for me at the time on prep. Like, literally the reason why I went upstairs was because somebody left during service. And like, I got in at 6 o'clock that morning, and then this guy literally prepped all the way up until staff meal, which was like 4 o'clock. And right after staff meal is when we start our service. So we break everything down, we clean everything up, and then we start service.
He was prepping for 10 hours?
Well, he came in early and was prepping his station, but then once staff meal hit, he quit. He left. So they didn't have somebody to work that station for that service. And so they came up to me and they were like, Adam, you're going upstairs. And I'm like, okay, like, I've never done this before. I don't know what the hell this is going to happen. Like, I feel like I'm going to drown. And so I went upstairs, and I guess I did okay for the first night, but after that, it was downhill.
So they kept you up there after the first night?
They did. And then I just kept struggling. Like,
do they train you when you go up there, or were they just like, here you go, you're fucking to the wolves?
They would give you a recipe, try to follow it and figure it out, but half the time their recipes didn't even they weren't even measured out correctly. Like, there are so many adaptations of the recipe that I didn't even know what the hell it was. But there was certain things that I like at the time. Now I know a lot more than what I did then. For example, agar has to be boiled for at least a minute before it will set. And so I didn't know that at the time. And so I was just always in a rush, always in a rush, always in a rush. And I would not pay attention to certain things. And I would put this agar in the liquid because it's supposed to set in a certain way. And then there would be nights where it didn't set at all because I didn't boil it long enough. And so I would put it in my low boy, and it's supposed to firm up by the time service started. And there'd be days where it wouldn't firm up at all. So
And nobody told you like,
well,
what was happening?
I don't know. I don't really know. It could have been me just doing a terrible job, but I will say that like now I understand it a bit more. And so it was hard. And so eventually I got sent back downstairs because I wasn't doing good enough. And then I continued prepping. And I continued staying there because I knew that like at that time I wasn't even ready for that shit. Like you guys threw me up there and I knew I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah.
And so the second time, like I went up. So I did go up again, but I never got my own station. I was working with someone else. And I was like, I want that responsibility. I want to be able to make sure that I can like prep my station well and do everything properly. But they would never give that to me. And so on the next menu, they were talking about not having me up there because they didn't need another person up there. And I was like, okay, well, if I'm not going to get this position, then I'm going to quit. And so eventually that happened. And so I quit. So they didn't give that to me.
I mean, it comes back to the same thing. Good on you for not going back whenever they came to you and was like, hey, we'll give you that position now that we fired the other two guys. But like you said, you weren't going to give it to me in the fucking first place. So like, why would I want to stay here?
Yeah. Like, I don't want your handout.
Exactly.
Don't give me a handout. I worked for this.
Yeah.
Like, and that's how I saw it. And then literally after that is whenever I went to Belmore.
Where was that at?
It was
Chicago.
It was
too?
in Chicago.
Is that the place where they're doing all the?
Well, that's where that guy was a really good teacher to me
Okay.
and showed me a lot of stuff.
Okay.
And then I went to Acadia. Oh, that's a good one.
Is that the one with the gastro stuff?
It was fine dining, yeah, but it wasn't necessarily that. That guy, most of the restaurants that I worked for, I usually have good stuff to say about. That guy, no.
This is the Acadia place. How was this place rated?
This one was it? I think it was 2 Michelin starred.
Oh, so it's pretty fucking good.
Yeah, it was high up there.
Okay, so what was the problem?
So this dude, okay. I decided to try pastry at this place. Another fucking crazy thing. The first time doing pastry at a 2 Michelin star restaurant,
that's
like
crazy.
It's a pretty high expectation. So I went there and I was like, all right, well, we're gonna see how this goes. And so I went there.
So hold on, how the hell did you get this job?
They were just on, I think, Indeed or something. I don't know.
Oh my God.
I don't know.
Okay.
And so they saw my resume though. That's the one thing that did get me there was and a lot of things in restaurants will do that is they will look at your resume, and if you do have respectable restaurants, they will look at you a little bit more. Mm-hmm. They also have a higher expectation of you too.
Right.
So if you can't meet that expectation, they're gonna be very disappointed.
Right.
But one of the things was at Acadia, this guy would always have a New Year's Eve party all the time. And that's fine. That's great. But he would always have something called a space cake. I didn't know what that was at the time. And so we were making it, and he brought in liquid THC. And so we let the kitchen know in the front of the house, like, hey, this is going to be an edible. Like, this is going to be big. It was a cake that had buttercream with THC in it. The cake itself had THC in it. Everything in that cake had THC. And so it was very potent and very high.
I mean, it was called a space cake, to be fair. It was about to take you off.
So we got this thing, and, like, it was fine until... Like, the whole time, the New Year's Eve party, we were told was just going to be the kitchen staff and everyone that works in the restaurant. No. He opened it up to the public. Oh, shit. And so this cake was never labeled as containing THC. And so while, yes, it could be worse, like you could add other things to that, which he did in the past. It could have been a lot worse.
Like what? Like Molly, some coke?
He did ecstasy one day.
Okay. Jesus Christ, dude. He just out here randomly dosing people?
Yeah.
Jesus.
And like once COVID hit, there was something on Instagram called the 86 list. And he was on it.
What is that?
Basically, 86 list is any sort of chefs that you have had a bad experience with. Okay. You are able to openly say what the experience was.
Okay.
And
so why did that come after COVID?
Because no one had their jobs anymore.
Oh shit! Okay, so they didn't care.
They didn't care. They couldn't get fired for it.
Oh, dude.
So a lot of that stuff happened. There was a lot of chefs that were being called out on Instagram from it.
So people were like dropping names and then like just dropping all the fucking tea.
Yeah.
Holy
and there was one where I knew exactly who this person was because he was explaining the whole story. I'll go into that in a second.
We're getting juicy now, baby.
But the space cake basically had all THC, everything like that, never labeled. That was my biggest thing. Was I was like, man, like we literally just drugged all these people because they didn't know.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
It looked like a cake, and so nothing was said, nothing was done. All these people were drunk, and I guess they were high too. If they ate that cake, they sure were. At that time, he didn't give a fuck. So I was literally behind the bar with one of the bartenders, and like this guy, I was pretty trashed as well at this point. And this dude, like, I didn't even know who the hell he was, and he's like, "Man, can you pour me a shot of Patron or something that we had there?" And I was like, "Yeah, dude, give me your cup." And I was just fucking pouring at this point, and like, I was like, how much you want? Like, I was just straight wasting that fucking Patron on this dude. I didn't care. It wasn't my money.
Right.
But yeah, I was just fucking pouring all these people shots. It didn't matter. Like, I was like, I'm behind the bar. What do you want? Like, so a lot of people would come up and do that. And there was just nothing. No, he didn't care that we were doing that. He was giving shots out to everybody. It was just mayhem.
It sounds insane.
So then, before I left that restaurant, there was a manager that had a birthday, and what this guy wanted to do was, have you ever seen those women that have like a fake chainsaw thing, and they just hit their like vagina area with the metal, it just shoots out everywhere?
No.
You never seen like stripper stuff like that? Oh, well. So basically, this guy, he told him, he's like, hey, he's like, I'm going to get you a surprise for your birthday. And this guy has like, I think he either had a wife or a girlfriend or something. And he's like, I don't want that. He's like, I don't want you guys to get me anything or do anything. And so what he literally did was he put the plastic shit down that you would probably put on a couch if it's going to get wet.
Okay.
And so he put all this plastic shit down, blindfolded the guy, put him out into the dining room where everyone else eats when fucking doing this, and literally had like a stripper shooting juices and shooting shit off of her fucking vagina.
Oh my God.
All over. And I was like,
with like everybody watching this?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
I was like, I am not. Like, what the fuck? It was.
So this is during the party with the space cake.
This was a different.
Okay, this is a different time.
It was the manager's birthday.
Okay.
Just this dude's random birthday. He was like, hey, let's just get all this shit.
Yeah, that's crazy. Especially when he didn't ask for that.
Yeah.
And specifically said, don't do that.
Yeah. He completely disregarded all of that and just did it anyway.
Holy shit, dude.
So, this is the same guy that would brag to us about bringing women back into the kitchen, because he had this like little office within the kitchen, and he would just do lines of coke with with women or anyone, bring them back into that office, and he would tell us on how he would have sex with them back there and whatnot. At first I thought he was bullshitting until I saw some of the shit that he did, and I was like, okay, that's probably true.
Right.
That's absolutely true. Like, dude, I wouldn't be surprised.
This is insane.
And
I feel like the culinary industry brings some pretty fucking wild people.
Dude, it brings some wild times.
Yeah, like some rock star type people.
Yeah. There's a lot of drugs, a lot of alcohol, which is why I'm doing the charity that I'm doing, or the pop-up that I'm doing for that charity, because I've seen a lot of that kind of stuff.
Okay, we'll talk about that in a second. Let's don't forget that, because I do want to talk about that. But let's go. Okay, so this is Arcadia.
Acadia.
Okay. And you worked there for how long?
6 or 7 months, roughly.
Jesus Christ. And how much shit did you see in that 6 months?
It was like, well, so whenever I started, it was roughly, I think, December. And the pastry chef that was there, she was pregnant. And this was another wild story. So she was pregnant. She went on paternity leave, like maybe like 2 weeks after I started. So I was there with the sous chef, and the sous chef was basically she's great. Like, she was awesome. She was my mentor. And so I got there, and the main chef went on paternity leave. And then once she got back, so as she was going, the chef was like, hey, can you show up and do all this stuff? Like, so she would come in pregnant as fuck, like, at this time. And I can't remember how long she took off before actually having the baby, but literally, like, I think it was a couple weeks after having the baby, he was already trying to get her back into the kitchen and, like, saying, like, no, you can't take off that long. You have to be here, things like that. So there would be times where I would see her there with, like, the baby in the fucking, in the hand thing, and just sitting right next to her.
Dude, I was going to
And
say,
I'm like, dude,
I feel like in that it's almost like they feel like they can fucking do whatever and like say whatever and get away with whatever. I was going to ask you how the women fucking like felt working there.
they probably, most of them probably felt uncomfortable
Yeah.
about a lot of the stuff that he said and did.
Yeah.
And, like, seeing that, I was like, dude, like, you literally can't give this, or your pastry chef, that long off to nurse a fucking baby.
Right.
Whenever me and the other pastry chef were just doing fine, like, he wouldn't allow it. And so it was wild to me seeing her bring her little baby that's not even fucking 4 or 5 months old into the fucking restaurant, sitting right there as she's prepping stuff.
That's insane.
And, like, just like, she would have her cutting board right in front of her and the baby next to her right there. And I'm like, dude, why? Like, why would you not allow somebody to do that?
No breaks.
It's
They don't
wild.
care. Yeah, they do not care. So that's the crazy thing too. Like I was saying, like they literally feel like they have impunity or some shit, because it's like you were only there for 6 months and this guy is just going balls to the fucking wall, like telling you about all this shit that he's doing.
Yeah.
Like he literally feels like he's invincible.
Yeah.
So this guy was on the 86 list
Yeah.
eventually.
So there was a story about him. The reason why I found out, because I thought that Space Cake was the only time that, like, whenever we did it, I thought that was the only time he's ever done it. And then I was reading comments about it, and there was other people that they were like, oh, I worked there in 2017, things like that. They were basically saying that, yeah, he put these types of drugs into the Space Cake at the time. And I was like, he put ecstasy? I was like, in shrooms?
Yeah, that's crazy.
I was like, are you serious? Like, what the hell?
Imagine if you have like, you go there to eat this and you have some sort of mental like problems, or like you're borderline have some mental problems,
Yeah.
and you fucking just start tripping, dude. Like that would be nightmarish.
It blew my mind whenever I read that comment, because I thought we were the first ones to do it.
Right.
And I thought this was a one-time kind of thing. No, it happened multiple years before I even got there. And so,
Dude, this makes me wonder, like, if all this shit's coming out about, like, chefs, because, again, people don't have fucking jobs, so they don't care. Like,
Right.
what goes on, like, in fucking Hollywood, like, in the movie industry, what goes on in, like...
in other industries like it.
the music industry, like, what goes on, we're these same type of people think that
Rockstar.
they can do, rock star shit. Like, they think they can get away with anything and do anything. Like, we were joking about this couch we're sitting on right here. It's blue, and we were joking about, like, the casting couch. That shit's real. Like 1,000%. Like, you want to get in this movie, you want to make this fucking album or whatever.
That's what you have
What are
to
you going to do? What are you going to do?
Yeah.
You want to get in this commercial? How bad
What
do you want it?
Yeah. What are you gonna do for it?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like chef shit could be the same depending on where you go. I
Yeah.
mean, it might not be that intense or it might not start out like that. But like, I feel like you told me something about a woman who was basically being propositioned. Maybe it wasn't you. Like to either earn to keep her job or like to get a promotion or something like that. There was something going on with the manager and her. Maybe it wasn't you.
No, I don't think it was me.
Okay. All right, so let's jump back to this 86 list.
So the 86 list was just a bunch of people that have commented on chefs and their bad behaviors and stuff like that. And so basically, one of the guys that worked there whenever I worked there, he I quit before he did. I guess he was there for maybe a year or two more. I don't know. But at some point, his brother died, and so this chef knew about it. And so what he did was he went to such a far length of terrorizing this guy. It's pretty disgusting. So he went and I guess there was some sort of thing that happened whenever the guy quit because he was a manager. So this chef went and stole pictures of his brother, made a profile of his brother, and would sit there and send him messages as his brother.
Dude.
And would say...
This is the same guy that did the space cake shit.
Yeah.
That's fucking insane.
And so he would purposely terrorize this guy doing shit like that. And he would be like saying probably... I don't know exactly what it was, but it was probably something along the lines of like, you're a fucking piece of shit, blah, 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 like as the picture of his brother. And I'm like, dude.
You can't see right now, but like, dude, I'm like kind of tearing up. That's
Yeah.
like so fucked up.
It was...
What would possess someone to do that?
I don't know.
Understand.
I don't get
He
it.
was just mad because the guy fucking quit, or no? Was he still working there?
He wasn't still working there, but he did quit. I don't know what the whole thing was with that, but even then, if an employee
for
quits,
sure,
you
yeah.
would never want to go to those
Yeah,
links
for sure.
for anyone.
Yeah,
like
That's
what are you doing?
psychotic. That's literally psychotic.
So he was like portraying to be his brother,
That's fucking crazy, bro.
and then
It's like some Lifetime movie type shit.
yeah, and I was like, what the hell? Like I was reading the comments, and I absolutely believed it because this guy I saw, I knew who he was whenever he said that. And I was like, dude, this is because what he did was he said, I was the manager from this time to this time. And I was like, I worked there at the middle point of that time. And so I was like, I know who this is at this point. I knew he was the manager there.
Oh, so like he didn't say his name. He just said, I worked there and from here to here. Okay.
Yeah. And so I was like, okay, I know who this is. And then I found out that his brother died, and then that's whenever I also saw that he would do that to him.
Dude, that's like, I just feel bad for that guy.
Yeah, and I was like
That's
what the
fucked
hell?
up. I could not imagine that. First of all, losing your brother, and then some guy acting like your
Brother.
and not even being nice. Like it would
No.
it would still be bad if he was like, "Hey man, I miss you. Like, you're my brother." But he's like just sending fucked up shit.
There was another thing with this guy that one of his selling points for the job was to he had a house in Maine, which that's why his restaurant is named Acadia, because Acadia State Park is from Maine. And so he got a lot of his seafood flown in from there. And so he also had a place up in Maine that was kind of like a resort. And so
He was trying to take chicks there, wasn't he?
yes.
This is what I got confused about. I
Yeah.
knew there was fucking something
Yep.
that happened.
So what he did was he his selling point on the job was you got 2 weeks vacation every I think during the summer and during the winter. He would take people up there, but for you to go up there, you had to pay for your own flight there, but he would cover the house and everything else. And so once you did that, you were able to go and explore Maine and stuff, and sounds like a great idea up until the point where he starts drugging people while there. There was a girl.
Okay, I don't remember this.
There was a girl that. So I had my suspicions because I worked there December to probably, I think, like roughly March or whatever it was. I can't remember. But there was a girl that was a hostess there, very attractive girl, and a lot of them went to Maine because in January it's the slow season in restaurants, so it's better to close your restaurant and not waste money than being open and not having anybody come in.
Right.
So he would close the restaurant in January for 2 weeks, and he would fly people out to Maine. And so this girl went along, and eventually, whenever they were up there, they were. A lot of the other people were saying that this girl was acting really weird, and she was like, just not like it seemed like she was on some sort of drugs. They found him and her out on a beach where like she was pretty much like not functioning at this point, and he was, I don't know if he was naked or what it was, but he was out there with her, and she was like, just turned like 18 probably.
Jesus Christ.
And so like that's what he would do. His selling point would be to do that.
Oh my God.
And he would feed people drugs and alcohol.
Holy fuck. Did this guy ever go to jail?
No, but he did. Whenever that 86 list thing did come out, there were some sort of lawsuits put on him. Well, maybe not on him, but there was some sort of charges that were trying to happen. I don't know if they ever did. But at one point he took the Instagram account down of his restaurant.
Damn.
Like there was a lot of people that were against this guy.
Dude. Okay, so it's called 86 list. You said there was 86 chefs on there?
No,
Is that what it was?
86 means no more.
Oh, okay, yeah, duh. I'm an idiot.
So
Whenever we run out of shit, we 86 it.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. So how many fucking chefs were on this list? A lot?
I couldn't really tell you. I don't know for sure.
Dude, I wonder how fucking bad some of these stories get just off this one guy.
You might be able to find it on Instagram still. I don't know. I don't know if it still exists.
That is insane,
yeah,
dude.
He was one of them.
That is insane. This guy is like a literal fucking monster, dude.
Yeah. It was gross. And I couldn't, that's the only like small time that I was there that I found that out. That doesn't count for all the other times that I wasn't there.
Yeah. How long was that place open? Do you know?
I think it's still open. I don't know for sure.
Holy shit, dude.
But it's been open long enough to get 2 Michelin stars.
It's crazy.
So
Think about that.
I know.
Guy's got 2 Michelin stars.
Imagine if the Michelin guy found out about it.
Michelin guy probably knows.
I don't
That's
know.
insane.
I feel like they might
That's
take him off of that.
fucking insane, dude.
But yeah, there was at one point I looked up the Instagram for that restaurant, and there was no more.
How does what I want to know is like how the fuck do these guys keep shit like this under wraps for so long? People feared of losing their jobs, so they just wouldn't say anything.
Yeah,
Dude, that's crazy.
because then even if you do say something, I have my water somewhere. Right?
Who's gonna believe you?
That and like,
You get
you're
blackballed.
gonna face turmoil at work if you do say something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but like, I'm always like, why don't you get another job? But I guess some people they can't for whatever reason.
yeah, I don't know. I didn't really. I mean, it's kind of like I could have probably said something about the space cake thing, but who's gonna hear it?
Right.
Who's gonna listen?
And either way, even if you do say something, I'm like, okay, can you prove it?
Yeah. I'd be like, well, I mean, there's a bunch of other people in this restaurant that could prove it, but they're not going to say anything.
Exactly. Are they gonna fucking corroborate your?
They're not gonna-
Why not?
Why would they say anything? Because that's the person that they work for.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, that's fucked up. Jeez.
So there was a lot of stuff like that happened with that guy.
Oh my god.
But
So why'd you end up leaving that place?